What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. We've got the second week of the golf season ahead of us here. Second full week of January, NFL playoffs getting in full swing. So the golf calendar will be a full go here with full field events here for the next several months. And we look forward to breaking those down for you here live on the air. So I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84. We'll be joined by Mr. Notorious Derek Farnsworth to do that each and every week. And Noto, how was your season debut week with the Century last week?
Yeah, nothing special on my end. Didn't have any Chris Kirk, so yeah, no cashes for me. But yeah, good to have golf back. I didn't end up watching a ton, but saw some highlights online. Thought Kevin Kisner was pretty good in the booth, at least from what I saw, kind of giving Jordan Spieth and some other guys some crap. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he ends up sticking in the booth or trying to play. Sounds like he's gonna golf a little bit and then come back in the booth. I'm not sure, but how did your week go?
Yeah, I had a few sweats come Sunday. I needed Thigala to win, though. Had him as kind of one of my favorite lower-owned guys. Obviously, we talked about last week. You said a new year. You didn't know what to make of me. I played some Spieth. He finished in third, so for once, I got Spieth right to start the year, and had some Benny On, had some Sung Jae Im. So I had some good rosters, but no Kirk either, which ended up leaving me kind of around break even for the week. Which was a little bit of a disappointment given the way that my squads were set up going into Sunday, but was still nice to get a little bit of a sweat there to start the year out. And you mentioned as well, I mean, last week, people are going to maybe shy away from the shorter hitters. I know you kind of focused that discussion on Brendan Todd a little bit, who got off to a really good start the first 2 days, and then it ended up being Kirk taking it down. But the logic still was spot on there.
Yeah, I wish I could have got Brendan Todd's first 2 rounds and Putnam's last 2 rounds and combined those two together. I think Putnam was 15 under on the weekend, and Todd was 15 under first 2 days. So combine those, and we have ourselves a winner. But yeah, Kirk, good story. Obviously, he's sober now, and he's talked about his struggles with that. So pretty cool to see, and we don't have to worry about him, going out and partying. He should be ready to roll this week too.
That's right. Always worth noting, particularly when you get to some of those destinations in Florida or Vegas or something like that. So speaking of sober, we're week 2 with a glass of water on the show instead of the Diet Coke. So we'll see if we can make that. I am a little under the weather, though. I've been battling a cough and a cold or just all sorts of upper respiratory things for like a month now, and it's starting to irritate me, but that's all right. We're here, and we've also got like a foot of snow outside. It's just miserable. There's been a storm racing all the way across the U.S. I know some severe weather for people on the East Coast as well, and snow all across the Midwest. So wherever you are, hope you are staying safe. And I have not set foot out the front door today, so we're just out the back door, I guess, to shovel some snow for the dog to go to the bathroom, but not ideal to have a puppy and a foot of snow, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I also have a foot of snow, but no puppy. So, yeah, don't have to worry about that.
Like 4 a.m, he's got to go to the bathroom, and it's like I got to shovel him a path to go to the bathroom at 4 a.m, and then I'm, awake. So it's been one of those days, but no accidents in the house. So I guess we'll call that a win.
Yeah, that's definitely a win. Speaking of accidents, what did you think of Jason Day's pants?
Great segue into golf there. I don't know what to make of the fashion on the PGA Tour anymore. It just means I'm getting old, I guess. But the whole tournament was just like Vincent Norman made 14 birdies and finished dead last out of 59 golfers. And he didn't make any big numbers either. No doubles, 16 birdies, 8 bogeys, dead last. So
yeah, 200 was the worst round on Sunday. It's not my favorite when your guy shoots like 600 and he moves down the leaderboard, but yeah. And it seems like Tiger's leaving Nike, so yeah, we got some new apparel changes. I wonder if Nike's just getting out of golf altogether.
Could be with all the live changes and all that stuff. Maybe they're just going in a different direction. Will be interesting to see where that goes. over the next 6 or 8 months, and plus with the merger talks, how things all end up shaking out there. But yeah, you mentioned everybody's shooting well on Sunday. Justin Rose was 12 under, shot a 61 on Sunday. Quite a few 10 under rounds as well. Day, speak of him, was the one that shot 6 under on Sunday and moved down 4 spots on the leaderboard. So it was just one of those weeks where we knew it was going to be a birdie fest. And, you saw, let's see, what we end up having. 28 golfers get to 20 under or better. So, yeah, it's fun to have golf back, but maybe a little more excitement this week. Not that it's a super hard course by any means, but maybe a little bit more challenging, a little breezy the first couple days. Really hard to take a whole lot away from last week simply because, it became a birdie fest and a putting contest. But anything else you want to mention for last week's results?
No, I don't think so. I do wish, I don't know, we didn't really get primetime golf. They decided to do threesomes and then off split tees. So, I mean, they were just trying to get out of the way of the NFL, which seems like every sport is doing now.
Well, plus they had 60 golfers instead of the usual 30 or 35 that we have for that one. And then, yeah, the NFL scheduling changes. Obviously, we had a couple Saturday games, kind of threw a wrench into that as well. But it's a good week to get your feet wet, move on, get to the Sony Open this week. So still in Hawaii, in Honolulu this week at Waialae Country Club, which has been the longtime host of this event. What do we know about the course for this week?
Yeah, so Waialae, par 70, just over 7,000 yards, more of a plotter's course. So think Harbor Town, think Colonial, think El Camaleon, which we used to have on the PGA Tour, where distance is really negated. And that's because there's a lot of dog legs. There's a lot of overhanging trees. So it's not a course that really favors distance. You don't really need it anyway, since there are 2 par 5s and reachable by most of the field, and then the par 4s are all pretty short. So I'm not looking too much at distance. I'm not really looking at accuracy either, just because these fairways are hard to hit for everyone. The average driving accuracy last year was only 55%, and you can hit these greens from the rough. It's not a big deal. But I am interested to see if they play lift, clean, and place. Apparently, there's been some storms early in the week, so if the course is really wet and soggy, then maybe you do want to bump up driving accuracy, because whoever is going to be able to lift, clean, and place their ball is going to be at a big advantage.
I think it's supposed to be dry from now, so Tuesday evening and through the tournament. So, I mean, if they do, I'd imagine it's maybe only for like the first round or something like that.
Okay. Hopefully not. I hate when they do that. But yeah, so there's going to be a lot of wedges and short irons into the greens. 70% of approach shots are from 125 to 200 yards. The greens here, pretty easy to hit, about 78% last year in terms of greens and regulation. But you still want to be good around the greens. This is a course where we've seen Kuchar and a lot of the shorter hitters that are good short games tend to play well here. So yeah, I'm looking at everything but off the tee pretty much. What about you?
Yeah, I think the approach game angle, certainly a short game doesn't hurt here. And just in agreement there. You're just the distance is not a factor. You've seen Kuchar win. You've seen Kevin Na has won here in the past. So not that big hitters can't contend here, but that's the driver is generally not going to be the reason why they end up winning the tournament. So don't focus on that too much, and you should be fine as far as getting guys that are well suited for the course. Strokes gained approach, as usual, kind of the big one for me this week. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. We've got 4 golfers above 10K this week on DraftKings. They all played last week. In fact, the top 9 guys on the board, I believe, all played last week. Aubert coming off a tough week. He was pretty popular and a bit of a disappointment. You've got Hatton, Fitz, and Theegala coming off a runner-up finish. Hatton and Fitzpatrick played fairly well also last week. Do you think we need one of those top 4 guys? Or and if so, who do you like the best?
Yeah, I don't really like any of them, to be honest. Course history has been pretty important here over the years, and Aubert, Hatton, and Fitz have never played here. Theegala's played here once, finished T48 in 2021. And I really like the balance builds. There's not a lot in the 6Ks that I'm interested in. So I like starting in the 9Ks, building a couple players there, a couple in the 8s, a couple in the 7s. I think that's what most people are going to do. But there is, pretty high ownership up top. Wouldn't surprise me to see Aubert play well here, but again, the driver is negated a bit. Hatton is probably the best course fit of these 4, but you never know what to expect from him. I don't know if you saw the shot by the bunker where
I saw that.
I think he had 2 club hits, 3 stumps. He just lost his mind, which is. And
I believe that was on like the day he played real well.
Yeah, and after the round, he said somebody asked him about his great round. And he said, he started swearing and saying, "You should have seen my shot trackers; they were terrible." So he's never happy, but yeah, he's a joy to watch. And then, I mean, Fitz, if you want to play the Harbor Town narrative, Fitz won there last year, but I don't have a strong take on any of these. I'll probably be underweight on all of them. What about you?
Yeah, I do like Aubert. I think I'm banking on his ownership being a little bit lower. He was very popular last week, finished around like 50th in a 59-man field, and the lineups just look a lot better if you're starting in that 8-9K range overall. So I think the ownership might end up trending down on these guys a little bit. I don't like the others as much, but Aubert I will take some shots on. If you take out last week, he was on a stretch of like 7 straight top 15 finishes worldwide. So he's obviously shown the talent, and I think he's my pick up there.
Yeah, don't mind it. Wouldn't surprise me to see him bounce back.
All right. We head into the 9K range where Noto mentions he's going to be starting a lot of his lineups. Brian Harman, still expensive, coming off. I mocked the price tag last week and said that the algorithm was being taken from Noto, but solid top 5 finish for Brian Harman last week. Corey Connors has a very good course history here. Russell Henley has a good course history as well. You've got Chris Kirk coming off a win. You've got Eric Cole, who's been playing phenomenal golf for the last 6 months. So you mentioned maybe starting lineups in this range. Who are a couple of your favorites?
Yeah, I could probably make a case for all of them. The range is very strong. My favorites are Eric Cole at 9,700. He's just been a top 10 machine. I think he has top 10s in 6 of his last 10 starts. And he finally gets a course that he's seen before. He played here last year, made the cut. Now he's a much better golfer. He's one of the best birdie makers in the field. And he's elite everywhere except off the tee. So if you're going to negate distance, like we said, it's hard not to like Cole. Henley, you mentioned the course history. He's won here before. Didn't play well last week, but prior to that, he had top 15s in 4 straight. And then JT Poston at 9,100. Just really improved with his irons. He's top 5 in this field, strokes gained approach over the last 6 months. That's much different than what we typically think of Poston as like a short game specialist. He's still an elite putter, still good around the greens. He plays here every year. So those would be my 3 favorites, but Connor's course history is hard to overlook. Harman doesn't have the course history they might expect, but pretty good course fit there. And I'm going to be overweight on Chris Kirk just because I think everyone's going to can't play the winner from last week, but I think he keeps it going and puts together a strong performance.
Yeah, and Kirk has a runner-up finish and a third-place finish here in the last 3 years. So pretty good trends in terms of his recent form and his course history if you want to go back to Kirk. Connors, who I mentioned, T3, T12, 11th, and 12th, and T12 again. His last 4 trips, he's gained over 30 strokes on the field. So obviously it's going to come down to the putter with him. But I think all these guys are strong, like you mentioned. But Connors is my favorite. I'd probably go Henley next. And I do like Poston as well for those reasons that you mentioned. The other guys in here, Matsuyama, we still haven't seen much from him. Will Zalatoris returned from a long layoff at the Hero World Challenge, which is that kind of 20-man exhibition type event in December. And he, was trying to change putters. Obviously, he's coming back from a lengthy injury absence, and he finished 11 over par. So, like Zalatoris has got to be a guy that we just say we got to see something before we even debate it, right?
Yep, exactly. And he's on the record saying he likes long, difficult courses. This isn't exactly that. So yeah, right there with you. I'm not going to play any of him. I want him to play well. Obviously want him to get back to where he was a couple years ago. I'm going to be off of Hideki too, but everyone else in the range. If you're MMEing and you just ignore the 10K range, you can get 25% of everyone in the 9Ks except for Zalatoris and Hideki, and I really like that start to MME builds.
Yeah, it's definitely a path I think you can take this week. Like that call a lot. And of course, if you're going with those balanced builds, you'll be able to get some golfers in the 8K range as well. Benny On is at 8,700. A guy that we've seen, since he got his card back, he's been playing really well. He finished 4th last week. The big disappointment of last week was the chalky value, Cam Davis. During the show, Noda mentioned not knowing what to do with the chalk value, and Cam Davis ended up being the one to burn a lot of people last week. He's back this week at 8,500. I do think he's really interesting as kind of the zig when everyone else zags play. If you look at the long-term trends and stats, still really strong. And he's going to get a lot less attention now because he's more expensive this week than he was last week. And he's, coming off a 52nd place finish or wherever he ended up last week. So you've got Rose in here. You've got DFS Darling Yeager in here. McCarthy, Harris English. What do you like in the 8K range?
Yeah, so I like Benny On quite a bit at 8,700. Does look like he's going to be really popular, but man, 4th place last week. He now has 3 top 6s in his last 6 starts. T12 here last year, and he's much better putter than he used to be when he first came on tour. Went back down to the Korn Ferry Tour, and for whatever reason, he's gotten much better.
That's a pretty low bar at that time.
It was. He was like the Luke List.
He was bad.
Those types. So yeah, I like him 87. I like Cam Davis, like you mentioned, good bounce back spot, and he tends to play these shorter courses really well. Look at his numbers at Harbortown and Colonial, pretty good. Look at his numbers on short par 70s, pretty good. His best putting surface is Bermuda, and he's made the cut here each of the last 4 years. Worst finish was T32, so I do like Davis to bounce back. Then the only other play I like here is Denny McCarthy, just a course fit thing. I like all the short hitters that are good putters. I'll mention a number of others once we get to the 7Ks.
All right. Good calls there, of course. I wrote up Davis this week simply from a GPP angle. Don't have any issues with Benny On as well. Those will be my 2 favorites. I think Sobel wrote up Yeager this week, so I think Yeager is a safe play. Discounted from where we're used to seeing him during the fall swing, but solid play there at 8,100 if you want to go to him. Adam Hadwin, maybe another guy you could sprinkle in your GPP builds. Doesn't really have the course history here, but you're probably looking at around 10% ownership there. He got finished runner-up in his only fall swing start at the Shriners, and he was T14 last week with 28 birdies. So don't mind Adam Hadwin at an even 8K. And then we kind of start to trickle into the upper end of the 7s. Are you going back to the Brendan Todd? Is it Matt Kuchar with the course history this week? And some of those shorter hitters got to be in this range as well.
Yeah, I'm playing Todd on a par 70. That's just what we do. He's made the cut here to the last 4 years. Hasn't shown as much upside at this event, but he's just so consistent, and he's really improved with his wedges and short irons over the last year of play. Good putter. One of the best on Bermuda. He's 3rd in this field in strokes gained putting on Bermuda. So, yeah, I'll play some Todd. This is the course where I don't mind playing Kuchar. I probably won't have a ton, maybe like 10%. But if he gets you a top 15 at, as your 4th or 5th guy in your lineup, you'll probably take that. I do like Svensson. He's kind of been more consistent than upside over the last 6 months, but he does have a T7 here, 3 for 3 and cuts made. And then Andrew Putnam's my favorite between 75 and 8,000. He's just one of those guys. He hits fairways. He's good with his irons, elite putter. I mentioned at the top of the show, he was 15 under par in his last 2 rounds at the Century last week. So hopefully, got some rust off and, had 9 under par round on Sunday. We talk about, taking those guys that coming through with the low round on Sunday, maybe being able to carry some of that momentum.
Well, that's everybody that played.
Well, yeah, 9 under was like a shot better than the average, right?
9 under was pretty good. Well, I wonder what the course average was. I wonder if I can get that.
Oh, did you see Sungjae broke the all-time birdie record?
I did.
It was like 34 birdies in 72 holes.
So what is your guess as to what the overall, your serious guess as to what the course average was on Sunday? I just pulled it up on Data Golf.
So I'm going to go I'll say 5.5 under, so 67.5.
Yeah, so it was 6.3 under par was the average score. Every single hole played under par except for one. 2.86 on the front, 3.47 on the back. So it was 4.2 on Thursday, 5.5 Friday, 2.5 Saturday, and 6.3 on Sunday. So, yes, that is how you have a tournament where you set the birdie record, your Sung JM, and still barely finish T5. And also, I think he was like 8th or 9th or something, or maybe even lower than that in DraftKings scoring because of he didn't have the birdie streaks and he didn't have the eagles. So again, just a weird week. I keep bringing it up, even though we say not to take much from it, but it's the only 2024 data point that we have so far. So it helps to give some context. I like Svensson as well. That's no surprise. I'm always a Svensson guy. I don't love a lot in this range. I could be talked into Todd or Kuchar. I think they're fine. I usually like Alex Noren's a guy that nobody ever wants to play for some reason. And like he'll have the occasional stinker of a tournament from time to time, but at 7,900, I think he's all right. And we, as usual, don't have a whole lot of ownership on him. So we've got about 14% on Kuchar, 13% on Svensson, 14% on Todd. So Noren, we've got only at around 6. So potentially some lower ownership there as well. Any of the guys in the middle of this 7K range? Any interest in like a JJ Spawn, Aaron Rye, anybody like that?
I do like the Noren call. Couple top threes recently, and you mentioned nobody ever plays him because they all have bad memories of him burning them, myself included. The only other guy in that mid range that I do like is Tom Hoge. Doesn't look like he's going to get much ownership, similar to Noren at 6%. He can just get red hot with the irons. You know, you're kind of taking a chance with everything else in his game, but if you want a guy that can go super low, Hoge can do that.
Yeah, Hoge used to be a guy that was kind of your consistent, middle of the road finisher, but he's become a little bit more boomer bust over the last couple of years. So I like that call as well. We've got some guys we'll start to sprinkle them in the low 7Ks and the 6Ks that are some of the new Korn Ferry Tour graduates. So you'll notice some new names, guys that have just gotten their PGA Tour cards, maybe some guys that are back after losing it for a year or two. Dumont de Chessart, I'm just going to call him Dumont. I can't do the French with the head cold. But I think he's fine at 7,300, but he's been priced up. So maybe a few more guys in the 6K range if you want to take a chance on the new Korn Ferry Tour graduates. I mentioned Norman finishing dead last week, but still making a reasonable amount of birdies. I never have a problem playing him, but I really don't like a whole lot from the kind of 7 to 7.5K range. Anybody else above 7K that you like?
Yeah, I love Ben Griffin this week. Another guy similar to Eric Cole that he's bad off the tee, good everywhere else. Finished 12th here last year. Last time we saw him was with RSM, finished 8th. So he's got the course history, the form, the course fit. I like him a lot there. Outside of that, Alexander Bjork, one of the better iron players over on the DP World Tour, getting a start over here. I'm excited to see him play. He's pretty accurate and a pretty good putter too. He just doesn't play well on long courses, so this might be a good spot for him. Rio Hissat soon. Not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but he's been playing some great golf. T21 or better in 5 straight starts overseas. And then Ben Cole's another guy that we don't see a lot on the PGA Tour. He has 4 top 6 finishes in his last 5 starts on the Korn Ferry Tour. So those are some of the guys that are probably not going to get much attention in the low 7s that I do like.
Yeah, again, some of those new faces, you're going to get pretty low ownership. Davis Thompson, I think, is all right as well. Finally, a guy that seems to be capitalizing on the potential that everyone expected him to have when he first got his card a couple of years back. So he's the one guy at 7K that I don't mind taking some shots on. All right, if we go to the upper end of the 6K range, not a whole lot of guys that are in good form down here. You just seen a whole lot of players who are hit or miss. Seamus Power hasn't done much lately. If you're familiar with some of like the major tournaments, the British Open, some of those were the Genesis Scottish Open, where you see Robert McIntyre. His name might stand out to you, but this is a different style of course than those events that we usually play him on. He's there at 6,900. You got Buckley in here. There's not a sure thing in this kind of 6.6 to 7K range. Anybody that you particularly like in here? Or you're trying to stick above 7,000?
Definitely trying to stick above 7,000. I don't mind the Buckley calls. Finished 2nd and 12th here the last 2 years. Bad form coming in. Does look like he's going to be popular. So might be best to avoid him in single entry stuff. Ryan Palmer has played well here for whatever reason. Doesn't seem like he should. And he has 2 top 10s recently. So maybe you can look at him. And then Alejandro Tosti is a guy that I hope he's good because, man, he has just been a troublemaker on the Korn Ferry Tour. He's gotten suspended, signing wrong scorecards, swearing at everybody. So I hope he brings some of that to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who he ends up getting into his first quarrel with on the PGA Tour. But he's really cheap.
My money's on his caddy. Sounds like he doesn't.
Well, that's a given. I mean, the first player that he gets into it with. But yeah, the caddy thing, I've read the story, is definitely interesting. As we round out here, my goal was to potentially bring back the snake draft tonight. I know we're not going to be able to fill a big one here with it being still kind of the early part of the season. But I posted a message in the YouTube chat. If anyone's interested in doing a snake draft, I don't want to sit around and try to wait for it to fill, but if we know we can get at least 3 others, maybe we'll hop on one here, but we'll see if we can get some momentum going. So post a message in the YouTube chat if you're watching us live and you are interested in doing a snake draft. We'll be through everything here in a couple minutes, so we could go ahead and set that up now if we get enough people interested, but want to gauge interest before we do that. So all right, heading down to basically punt level. I know Noto mentioned staying above 7K, which I'm going to do for the most part as well. I will throw a sprinkle on Pearson Coody. So a really good story. Both of the Coody twins got PGA Tour cards, and Pearson was the #1 ranked golfer coming out of college a few years ago. Did win twice on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. His results are very up and down. But he had 2 wins and 4 top 10s, and he's only 6,300. So I might take a shot on him in some GPPs at that basically min level price tag, mainly in lineups where I want to get Aubert at the top or get another high end guy for sure into my lineup. So anybody else that you would be willing to consider as a punt?
Maybe Matthew Neesmith. He's a good iron player. He's never played here before, but he did show some good form in the fall. Tyler Duncan coming off a 3rd place finish. Carson Young, we used to pay like 7K for him. He's only 6,100 or 6,200. But ultimately, I don't expect to have any exposure to these guys.
All right. Well, with that, I think we are pretty much through the golfers here in about a half an hour. So if, again, we're going to try to maybe bring back the snake drafts here, but if you don't want to continue listening to us trying to fill a snake draft and going on and on about that for the next little bit, you can go ahead and drop off. We do appreciate it. Appreciate you listening to us or watching us every week. Be sure to leave a thumbs up on the YouTube page, subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in knowing whenever we go live, you can get a notification for that. But do appreciate your support, and you can check out all of our premium content over at RotoGrinders.com. So, all right, let's see if we can do, I'll humor myself, and we'll see if we can fill a snake draft on DraftKings. There's let's see, we usually do a 5-man. So, or a 6-man rather, 6-man, $5. So there's a 6-player, $5 snake draft that is 0 out of 6 right now. I'll be the first one in there. maybe we'll see if we can get enough people in there, and if not, we can just call it a show for the day. So 6-man, $5 snake draft on DraftKings. I was the first one in there, so if you look for that, it will be at 1 out of 6 now, 2 out of 6. I'll post a link in the YouTube chat as well. Maybe throw this on Twitter, X, what have you.
Yeah, I refuse to call it X. It's so weird.
It's one way to destroy your brand where people really don't know what to call you. So who's winning the Super Bowl?
Browns or the Bills.
The Browns. I said it as a Ravens fan, it's amazing the regular season that they had, but Lamar hasn't done anything in the postseason, and it really worries me, and I'm afraid that Joe Flacco is going to beat them in their stadium, which would be quite the story.
Yeah, my Jaguars classic just fell apart last week, so now I'm just cheering with my wallet. Had outrights on Bills and Browns,
so I might throw a little sprinkle on the Rams as my dark horse. I certainly don't think they're going to do it, but like at 50 to 1 or whatever, there's worse ways to burn a few bucks. All right, we're at 4 of 6 now in the snake draft. I'm going to holler at producer Steve. Steve, get in here for $5.
I liked your tweet that Najee Harris is 35 to 1 to score a touchdown, and
Najee is 35 to 1 to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl right now, and the Steelers are 45 to 1 to make it. And somehow that has like 2,000 likes, and that's the most popular I've ever been on Twitter. And I really didn't expect that to be the one, but it's okay. We'll take the glory for a day. 4 out of 6. We're stuck. We're gonna have to send in the ammunition. So all right, Steve says he's coming, and he better get in there. Then we'll be at 5 of 6. We need one more. Harry Brandt, if you're not in, we know JWH. He said in the chat he was in. Maybe one of my followers can get in on the Twitter machine. We're at 5 now. Just need one more poor soul. We're easy money. We're the fish at these sort of things. I went from January through like May of last year without cashing in one of these things before we finally had.
Then I went from May to September.
Then I passed the baton to Noto. All right, we're filled up here. I don't even think Steve got in. Steve was too late. That's okay. All right, so I got to share my screen now, and we'll go through the 6-man snake draft, and we'll get out of here. This freezes on me every time when I try to do this. I'm going to have to leave the... Steve, I got to leave the room, and I'll come right back.
JWH was asking about drafting some Brown stacks in playoff best ball. I do like that. I've never done playoff best ball, but I think I'm going to try it this year. Yeah, Joe Flacco's season. I think they match up well with the Texans. Texans can't stop the run or the pass. I think Browns get through first round, but we'll see.
All right, I'm back. I think I got this shared now. I'm drafting at the end, so I got to sit here for a few picks. I don't think that's the worst this week, though.
Yeah, I'll probably get somebody in the 9Ks, even though I'm picking second.
All right, let's see. I haven't looked at let's see how full JWH said that the contests are filling quickly. I'm not sure if he's talking about the playoff best balls or the golf. Golf contests are looking pretty healthy for a Tuesday evening. Half full on some of them, and To their credit, DraftKings hasn't skimped on the prize pools. 600K prize pool for when we're still in NFL playoff weekend is not bad at all. So, all right. So, Noto, you got Hatton there with pick 2.
It'll be my lone exposure to the 10K range this week.
Aubert falling at least to number 4. That's a bit of a surprise, and hopefully that ends up lowering his ownership like I expect in DFS. Same thought process. So I think that's interesting. Shout out to Bob Reeves, I believe is in our draft here tonight. RotoGrinders contributor who has taken Aubert.
Yeah, you're in a great spot. You're going to get 2 of the guys that I love.
Yeah, you go in this kind of 6-7 turn. I think you got Henley, Poston, Connors, Kirk here, I think are all fine options. So I'll go Connors and Poston. Kirk was probably the more logical selection, but I'll play he's not going to do as well coming off the win narrative, I guess. But yeah, decent spot to pick this week. So we'll go through go to the draft board now, since it's going to be a while before I pick again. Right hook, John E24. Some names I don't recognize in here. So if you're watching us while drafting, welcome. JWH also asked, are there a decent amount of manual adjustments to ownership made by the golf analysts at RG? So Trey Schwab is, and he is right hook. So welcome. Trey Schwab is our ownership guru. He takes, he listens to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, and just kind of the buzz around the industry. And he does a pretty good job at taking all those factors into account. So we do a couple adjustments throughout the week before Thursday morning tee off. And yeah, it's worked out pretty well. So.
And nobody wants Kirk.
Wow, I'm surprised. So he's yours now. You can't pass on him here, can you?
Haddon, Cole, and Kirk? Come on.
Zalatoris at the end of round 2. Akshay. Speaking of Akshay, we didn't talk about him. Noto, the curse of all curses, talking about the putter. And he went out and cooled off on the weekend a bit, thankfully. But Noto, you got to stop jinxing these guys, or reverse jinxing them, I guess.
When I say somebody's the worst putter, they have a career week with the plastic. Let's see who the worst Bermuda putter is this week. Josh Teeter. That might not be. That just might be an error. Luke List is still the worst.
When in doubt.
Yeah.
All right, so there goes Cam Davis off at number 16. Here's English at number 17. I will take Denny McCarthy and Svensson here. Got Connors and Svensson. I should have taken Hadwin. I could go for the all candidates team here this week. Too late.
Actually, not a bad play. Although, why isn't Mackenzie Hughes in the field? Seems like a good spot for him.
Yeah, I don't know if he
played last week.
I know he played last week. I just don't know if he ever usually plays here. I didn't pay attention. Jaeger off the board and Kuchar off the board. So it's back to Noto.
All right. Give me Putnam. I think Louis Glover was like 3rd in ball striking last week.
Yeah, he was kind of in the middle of the leaderboard all week there. So if he finished 29th, a little bit of a letdown after his hot spell a year or so ago, but he's still had a pretty good career arc here these last couple seasons. There goes Ben Griffin. Hadwin's still there. Kind of surprises me. DraftKings has him ranked 15. And he is still on the board at pick 27. Justin Rose still available as well. Coming off a best round of the week on Sunday. There goes Luke List.
I know.
You want to jinx him? Not the course for Luke List. Not the course for Luke List. All right. There goes Hadwin. So back to me. I will take Noren and Spawn here.
Yeah, this is a lot better than a few of the last ones that we did.
Yeah, I mean, even you think with all the guys that have defected to live that these fields would get pretty weak, but this is pretty deep for a January tournament for sure. Nobody's gonna, end up taking somebody that's just completely unrosterable by any means.
What do we have next week? The Amex?
I shall pull up the schedule. I was going to do that. It is the Amex next week, so
I heard it's a pretty good field.
Is that the one that's 3 courses?
Yeah. At least it was. I don't know. They changed Pebble this year.
I think it is Stadium Course, Nicholas Course, and La Quinta.
That used to be the John Rahm event.
Yeah, he won last year. So that's next week. Noto's favorite. He loves the 3-course events for sure. And then we've got the Farmers Insurance at Torrey Pines, 2 courses there, and then Pebble Beach. So,
we didn't talk about this, but did you see at the Hero? Those guys were wearing those little devices. They said for the shot tracker. They said they might start using them on these courses where they can't do the full
No, I
shot
did not
tracker.
see that. I did not pay that much attention to it.
They just like hook it to the back of their belt clip, and it's a little GPS thing that they can just tag where they are right over their ball or whatever. So that'd be cool if we could get just some faux shot tracker instead of shot 3 from unknown.
Yeah, especially for some of those events where we got nothing. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you got Billy Horschel with your last pick. Sorry, I didn't realize it was your turn either. To give you a heads up.
He's the perfect bench guy. He can finish top 10 or miss the cut.
That's right. The algorithm knows. The rest of your team is so stacked you didn't even need a 7th guy. All right. I get
Bobby
to make
Mack? I didn't even know he was in the field.
I spent like 2 minutes talking about him. Just mentioning that we're used to seeing him in the links courses and stuff. All right. I will finish it up with Norman, I guess. So that's it. That is our first snake draft of the year. Good luck to those of you who got in. Noto gets Hatton, Cole, Kirk, Putnam, Griffin, Bjork, and the bench guy Horschel. I get Connors, Poston, McCarthy, Svensson, Noren, Spawn, and Norman. Noren and Norman and a couple Canadians. If you're not familiar with these drafts, 6 of your 7 golfers count towards your final score, and then 1 lowest score gets dropped. So with that, we will call it a show for this week. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, to discuss the American Express. And until then, thanks to Steve for producing behind the scenes for us. Thanks to Noto for joining me as usual. I'm Justin, and we'll catch you back here next week, everybody. Good luck and take care.